So you're thinking about moving to Michigan. In this video, we want to give you 15 honest pros and cons of living in Michigan, part 2. So you're thinking about moving to Michigan. Well, in this video, we're going to go through the Honest Locals articles of the 15 pros and cons of living here in Michigan, and it is part 2. So if you didn't see it, part 1 was actually all the pros, and this video is going to be all of the cons. So hopefully you saw video 1 and you're tuning into video 2. If not, make sure you stay tuned to the end and then check out video 1, which will give you all the pros. So this is a great article, the Honest Local 15's Honest Pros and Cons of Living in Michigan. And like I stated in part 1, it's a great article because it's someone that moved from Georgia here to Michigan, and they're giving their honest feedback about it. So what my plan is to source this article, read through the pros and cons. In this video, like I said, the cons, and we're going to talk about what they said, and I'll give you my spin on it as a local real estate agent. That's someone that's been in the state my entire life, so I can kind of give you a little bit of truth of the matter and a little bit of the differences of the two, if that makes sense. Before I get into that, I always like to introduce myself. My name is Matt Talbot. My team and I help people just like you. We get calls, texts, emails, all sorts of stuff every single day of people that want to move here to Michigan, and we absolutely live for it. If you are thinking about moving the next 3 to 6 months, it is a great time to let us know. Hit the calendar link on our main page on YouTube and set up a consultation today. So, like I said, this is part 2 of this video. We're going to jump into the Honest Locals article here of cons of living in Michigan. The first con of this article, the Honest Locals review of living in Michigan, is going to be, of course, the brutal winters while living in Michigan. This is so true. You can't sugarcoat it. Is what it is. Let me give you their perspective on it, which is the real perspective. So he said, that's not sugarcoat it. Winters in Michigan suck. They're the worst. I shouldn't say he or she. I cannot find the author's name in this article, so I apologize. We will source it in the comments below. We definitely want to source the article. I cannot find the article's name. So this person who wrote the article, that's not sugarcoat it. Winters in Michigan suck. They're the worst part of living in Michigan by far. Seriously, nothing comes close. Even if you think you enjoy snow, you'll find yourself questioning everything you thought you knew about yourself. We're not just talking about snow. We're talking about limb-numbing temperatures from late November through mid-March. What's more, blizzards are not uncommon, but thankfully they keep the regular office hours. Every winter, you can expect a bunker down at home or an extra 1 to 2 hours for your errands. So I think it's a great review. This person happened to move from Georgia to Michigan, so that's a big jump if you're moving from down south. We do have winters. It does get cold. There is snow. It's without a doubt one of the major cons of living in Michigan if that's not for you. The flip side of it, I try to give a positive opinion in most things that I say here. And the flip side of that would be the pro of that con is, of course, you get the seasons, which we talk about in a lot of our videos, but the seasons matter. I cannot promise that you love winter. In fact, I hate part of winter. It's one of the reasons why I despise certain days is when it is really cold and not really feeling that vibe, but it gives you an opportunity to travel, and it also allows you to really appreciate the nicer days in your life when you go through some really cold days here in Michigan. The number 2 con on the Honest Locals review of living in Michigan is going to be terrible road infrastructure. So I believe this. I'm going to lead into this. It talks about having a lot of construction and a lot of bad infrastructure in Michigan. You know, I can only really specifically talk to Southeast Michigan for the most part, and it isn't great. I'm going to be honest with you. So what happens here in Michigan is we have a lot of ice wedging, so the roads get beat up pretty quick. There's a lot of potholes. Specifically in Detroit and Metro Detroit, there's a lot of trucks that go in and out of the Canadian border there, okay? So not only do you have this ice wedging and these terrible temperatures, but you have a lot of heavy weight driving on these roads quite a bit. So there is a lot of construction going on, and there isn't the best infrastructure when it comes to that. Now, the flip side of it, the thing that I'm going to kind of take this article and maybe disagree with part of it is going to be that, you know, a lot of places, if you're moving from places like California, if you're moving from New York City, if you're moving from these really busy, bustling metropolitan areas, like, it is easy to get around comparatively. Like a traffic jam here might add an extra 10, 15, 20 minutes on your commute, but it's nothing crazy. Like it's very easy, in my opinion, to get around. I can't promise the roads are nice because they're not. They get a lot of potholes and they get beat up quickly. However, like I love being in Detroit because you could be on one side of Detroit, although it's got huge city limits. Like it's very easy to jot across town and get different places if you need to in a short amount of time. You don't get that in Chicago. I've spent so much time in Chicago. Like being able to like jump over to the other side of town can be miserable. Like, you don't really have that in Detroit for the most part. From time to time, there is, bad traffic jams and stuff like that if you really get, if there's a bad accident or something. But for the most part, it's pretty easy to get around town outside of like your major rush hour, and it's not extraordinarily crazy like in Los Angeles or Chicago or New York or any of these big cities. Even in places like Houston, I remember sitting in traffic for a very, very long time comparatively to Detroit. There's just not as many people. You don't have that same type of infrastructure. So to me, it is a con, the roads themselves, but the commutes as a whole are not terrible here in Michigan, in my personal opinion. Number 3, the Honest Locals review obnoxious car insurance rates is their number 3, their third con here. And there is some truth to that. We do have pretty high insurance rates here in Michigan, and there's really 2 reasons for that. It says, according to the article, it exceeds the national average by 284%. So the car insurance is expensive here in Michigan, and there's 2 reasons for that, at least what they say. There's 2 reasons. One is the at-fault insurance here in Michigan is something where, there's really, when you have at-fault insurance, or there's no at-fault insurance, so meaning like if there's an accident, you're not like saying, well, this person's at fault, this person pays for it. Like, you just pay for the damages on your car, and there's some legislation going out there to try to maybe change this or tweak this, but that's how it is currently. And then, of course, being a northern state, the insurance is going to be higher. Anywhere that it snows a lot, like, your car insurance should be higher. It just is what it is. There's way more accidents, way more likely, of course, with snow and ice and stuff like that, in those type of winter conditions, it's a more likely thing to happen, so you're gonna have higher insurance. Car insurance is bad here. I can't twist that to be a good thing. It just is what it is. But again, it is what it is. Car insurance is high. Number 3 on the Honest Locals review here. Number 4 on the list is let's talk about Detroit. And so they're saying that this is a con of moving to Michigan, talking about living in Detroit. They actually mentioned in the article that they moved to Detroit for a couple of years, moved out of the city. However, I want to make sure I'm phrasing this appropriately here. They did mention being of retirement age, the person who wrote this article. So not that I don't think that retirees are meant for the city. In fact, we've actually recently placed 3 clients that moved from the suburbs, live in Southeast Michigan, that recently moved back to the city that I can think of off the top of my head. So people are doing it. Again, Detroit is a big city. So if you are looking for city life, if you're looking to live in a city in Southeast Michigan that's going to be beneficial for you, then Detroit's going to be an option for you. If you don't want city living, if you don't want to, have to worry about, homeless people occasionally and have to worry about, leaving your car in certain places, or, you want to leave the keys in your car and leave it unlocked, like, a city is not for you in general. Detroit will not be for you. The flip side of that, I've lived in Detroit for 8 years now. I thoroughly enjoy it. I feel very, very safe wherever I go. Of course, you have to be smart like any other big city. I'm not walking down dark alleys in the middle of nowhere by myself at night. Like, why would you do that anyway? And I'm definitely not out at 2-3 in the morning trying to pick fights with people, okay? So if that's you and that's kind of the plan, Detroit might not be the city for you, because you're going to learn real quick that it is a tough city. However, if you like food and you like going to shows and concerts, you like enjoying a city, and you like big culture and deep roots of a culture, going back to the Motor City and music and all these great things that Detroit has, then I think you will thoroughly enjoy it. So different strokes for different folks, but this article that source Detroit as a con, in my opinion, I think is a huge pro. In fact, it's one of my favorite reasons of why I'm staying here in Michigan is the city, the changes that are happening, be involved with the culture and the city itself, because it's such a cool place, in my opinion. I think there's so much benefit to come out of it. We have a lot of different articles out there, a lot of different videos out there, I should say, on this that we can deep dive into. So Detroit is awesome, in my opinion. Again, not for everyone. Know what you're getting into. If you want more specifics, holler at us. We're happy to help you out. Okay, number 5 on our list. So I'm actually going to roll these 2 in. The Honest Local has number 5 as the summer humidity is a bear, and number 6 is the mosquitoes here in Michigan. So 2 things. This particular person had moved from down south here to Michigan, and they think that it's very humid. I think that there definitely is humid days, but for the most part, yes, midsummer, it does get kind of humid because it rains and stuff like that. But for the most part, I think that there's a lot of not so sticky days in fall and spring and throughout the year. So I wouldn't consider Michigan to be like overly humid compared to like a Florida or other places if we're really trying to compare it out here. But there is humid days without a doubt in the summer, different than like down south. If you're in like Dallas or something and you're moving here to Michigan, you're gonna get that like hot heat. It's not crazy humid in my opinion. Detroit and Metro Detroit and Michigan definitely can get humid. And then 6 is mosquitoes. So yes, mosquitoes, it totally depends. Like it comes in waves and there's like different areas like where sometimes there's like none and then sometimes they're horrible. So depending on where you're going, the time of year, how much rain happened, they can be really bad here in Michigan. Mosquitoes can be bad without a doubt. But again, I think that's anywhere. If you're going into the woods, you're going deep woods, and you're doing that type of exploring throughout the country, and it is a place that gets rain, there's going to be mosquitoes. So I don't think it's just Michigan by any means. However, you definitely have to be prepared for that. It's something to also consider when purchasing a house. We dive pretty deep into this sometimes, and sometimes I forewarn certain clients on certain homes because some wooded lots, if there's a certain amount of water and stagnant water in certain areas, you're going to see a lot more mosquitoes. So a client might say, hey, I love this lot. It's in a cul-de-sac. It's in the back of the sub. You know, it's beautiful trees and all that stuff. And I'm like, great. Just know that there's probably going to be a good amount of mosquitoes because the way I see like the water sitting in the backyard and stuff like that. So having a local real estate agent that understands this and dives deep and gives you an honest review on things is going to be very, very key, which is why I love this article, The Honest Local. What a great source. Thanks so much for providing this to us, guys. We really, really appreciate it. I think it's been awesome for both part 1, the pros, and part 2, the cons of living here in Michigan. I would say as an aggregate, if you compare our video 1 compared to video 2 and this article's pros versus cons, there's so many pros that outweigh the cons. They mention that in the article without a doubt, and I believe that wholeheartedly. If you're thinking about moving to Michigan, there's tons of pros. There are cons, just like any other place in the world. And if you want to know more specifically how that affects your situation, make sure you connect with us. We're happy to go ahead and help you out in that matter. Thanks so much for tuning in. Tap subscribe, hit notifications. Looking forward to staying in touch for down the road. And if you are moving, Calendly link on YouTube. Let's connect. We love those conversations. I had a great one 2 days ago, another one earlier this week with one of my other teammates. They really enjoyed that conversation as well too. We love connecting with you, even if you're kind of early to the process. Let's start today.